Hey guys, the Chief Asch here yet again to do another video in our series of 31 videos in 31 days of October, our horror movie review marathon. So last night I picked up I had it, but I grabbed it to physically watch it. A movie that came out a while ago. I was really excited for it, and then my experience watching it was slightly terrifying, but yeah, so today I'm going to talk about the movie Sinister. Let me clarify as to why, because I've seen a lot of horror movies. Let me tell you why my experience was terrifying. I was in undergrad at the time and wanted to go to movie theater to see it, because that's what I do. I always love going to movie theaters to try to get that viewing experience. So I go to the movie theater. I couldn't fit, everyone's busy, nobody wants to go with me, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll go alone. You know, what could go wrong? So apparently everyone else in the town decided that I also should go alone. So when I got to the theater, I had the entire theater by myself, just me, in the middle of the night, alone, watching Sinister in a movie theater, which is probably the best way to experience a horror movie for the fact that it's a horror movie. But I guess it was just odd because I actually had I wasn't screaming, I promise, but the management came and checked on me like 3 times. But yeah, that's how I first saw this movie. But so maybe I like it because of that. I don't know. Sinister, a movie with, in my opinion, kind of a unique plot, a little unique layout. It only has it's in my opinion pretty decent movie. It's definitely worth the watch for sure. It's about this writer he's a true crime writer, and he moves from town to town following the stories, and as he moves to this town, he actually moves into the house where it happens, and the situation is like this entire family got killed, and then one of the children went missing, right? So the first one you find out that they were all hung, and then it turns out like there's like this whole like serial killer aspect, or maybe it's a cult thing, and then it goes into the demonic and has a pagan god, Bagul. So it's an interesting movie. The only thing it ruins the movie for me. Because overall, you know, it's better than average. It's a decent well-made horror movie, and it came out at a time where horror movies weren't coming out. So it was a breath of fresh air for the most part. But they have this thing, because the whole Bagul thing is that he like pulls the kids into his world and he like slowly eats at them. And the problem with the movie is the fact that when it shows these other kids on screen that he's taken only in the past like 50 years, not the thousands he supposedly has been around, but just like these last like 50, 60 years that the movie covers, which that's kind of bothersome. But it shows like 5 kids, and they're like zombie-esque, and the older they are, they don't look any more fucked up than the next one. So, and like, I don't know, that the whole world there just doesn't really make sense to me. And also, there's two main scenes where the kids come into, actually physically are in the like movie, like they have their own little, because the whole thing is like all of these deaths were recorded in some like really almost artsy way, and it's a recording of their actual death. And if the children just stayed there, like if that's where the children are, like that's great. But they brought them into like to become like this weird ghost thing to chase Ethan Hawke around the house, which is, you know, whatever. But the very first time you see him, he's up in this like attic, and then he like falls in the attic, and then later he was recording for some reason. He was recording, so he uses phone light, because you know that's actually kind of clever, you know, for a movie. For actual people, you should probably have like a flashlight or something to grab instead of your phone. Battery works that way. Anyway, so regardless, so he's recording so he has a camera on, because that's how old smartphones work. You had to be, yeah. Anyway, so he's like walking around recording, and then he falls through, and then he goes back and he re-watches the recording. And I remember sitting in the theater at this part, and I was like, what the fuck? But he like re-watched it, and he like paused it, and he sees these little ghost hands that are totally CG just pulling him out of the attic, and it looks very, very, very corny, and it's just, and he's like, oh my god, it's supposed to be this big scary thing, but it isn't. Then there's another part where he's walking around the house and like the kids are like they're ghosts, so he can't see them, but you see them and they're like running with him or at him or around him just for like some weird scare effect, and it just doesn't work. The kids don't work in the real world. They needed to stay in the film thing, and they also stood in such a formation. If you ever watched Codename Kids Next Door as a kid, the evil people, the evil kids that always fought the Codename Kids. That's actually how you see these kids. They literally stand in that that little 5-person formation, and it looks exactly the same, except they're like a zombie version of the kids. It's fucking weird. But beyond that, the design for Ghoul, he's a very cool looking monster. The only mistake they really make with that is just full out 100, because at first you kind of see him from a distance and you kind of see a blurred vision of him, and at the very end they take this neat shot, because he finds other videos of other families getting killed by a ghoul in like this little box, and at the end it shows, you know, a box and the videos, even though they were burnt and shit like that, it just shows it. And when I first saw it, I thought it was gonna black out, but it just shows Ghoul's face and he's like, ah! And it's like a scary part. Like it's a little jump scare to just end the movie on. Like that could have been left out. Like I feel like a recut of this movie would be able to make this movie like push it from like a 77, 78 to like upper 80s and 90s. Literally just a recut of the movie. There's a lot of really good parts like throughout this. There are some rather creepy moments where like characters will be staring off into bushes and think they see stuff, or something will be there, or just little things like that. Little creepy parts. There's like part with the main character's kid in the box. Like there's a lot of quality here, and it's like it was very interesting. And then they announced that because Sinister was rather successful. There wasn't a whole bunch of horror movies coming out around that time, and it was watched. And then so with that money, they were like, oh, you know what? Let's do the typical horror movie thing and take the worst things about this movie and make a sequel. And that's what they did. So full on, straight on Bagul and all sorts of shit. And it's just, the sequel's not worth it. Like, don't even bother. But the original, definitely worth to watch. It's got a complex plot. It's a very enjoyable story. Very easy to go along with. You really get into the Ethan Hawke character and you feel his desperation. He's trying to like write a book to like reignite his career and like be able to set his family up, because he only had like one successful book and then a bunch of less successful ones. Great backstory brought up in the movie. It has everything it needs. It has it, and then it just I demand a recut. I demand a fucking recut. I'm gonna recut the movie. That's just what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna recut it and it'll be like, look, it's like 10 minutes shorter. Still watchable, huh? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, Sinister, you should check it out. Halloween's coming, obviously. That's why we're doing that. That's definitely one you should have on your, if you're doing a little horror movie marathon with your friends. That's definitely should be one on the bill. It's definitely worth to watch. And Ethan Hawke that's one of his movies that kind of brought his career back to life. In the mid 2000s. So, definitely worth the watch. And this has been the Chief Asch on Sinister, and keep watching.